In the year 2026, American politicians spend millions of dollars and a lot of time in the state of Nevada. This is because Nevada is a powerful swing state. Nobody really knows who would win a statewide election in Nevada until all the votes are counted. However, this is nothing new to Nevada. Nevada's admission into the Union itself was a political maneuver. Here is why. Why Nevada is just a political stunt. First, allow me to take you back to December 20, 1860. After decades of growing tensions between Northerners and Southerners within the United States, the state of South Carolina becomes the first one to officially secede from the Union, creating the Confederate States of America. On April 12, 1861, the Confederates win the first battle of the war after launching an attack at Fort Sumter in South Carolina. After this attack, the American Civil War truly began in earnest. At the beginning of the war, the Confederacy looked the stronger of the two sides. They won the battles of Bull Run on July 21, 1861, Wilson's Creek on August 10, 1861, and critically, Fredericksburg in December 1862. Even though the Union had won early battles in the war as well, such as the battles of Shiloh in April 1862 and Antietam in September of that year, the Confederates still seemed much stronger. These victories were after two crucial victories in Tennessee. On February 6, 1862, the Union captured Fort Henry and 10 days later, Fort Donelson. Commanded by General Ulysses S. Grant, these successes opened the Tennessee and Cumberland rivers to Union forces and forced the Confederates to flee. However, after the Battle of Fredericksburg, the Confederacy seemed to forget how to win a battle. Confederate victories, which seemed so frequent in the early years of the war, suddenly became less common. Despite this, the Confederates were still able to win the crucial Battle of Chancellorsville. However, after this battle, Confederate General Stonewall Jackson was wounded by friendly fire and would eventually die from his injuries on May 10, 1863. This was a cruel loss for the Confederates, as they lost one of their best generals. However, 1863's most famous, important, and deadly battle would not come in May at Chancellorsville. It would come from July 1st to 3rd, 1863, in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. After a largely successful invasion of the North, General Robert E. Lee's army was forced to retreat after tactical blunders. His army lost to General George Meade's. This battle is oftentimes seen as the battle that changed the tide of the war into Union favors. Off the battlefield, many Americans who were excited about a war were now confused and tired, wondering what the point of it was. Between July 11th and 16th, 1863, New Yorkers launched the New York Draft Riots. These riots were violent disturbances in lower Manhattan, widely regarded as the culmination of working class anger towards new laws passed by Congress that year to draft men to fight in the war. Many people were upset about the handling of the war by President Lincoln and believed that he was not the best person to do the job. His constant interference with his generals could have been a huge blunder, but at the end of the day, it clearly worked. Even as late as the summer of 1864, even though the Emancipation Proclamation was already passed and a Union victory was seemingly inevitable, many people doubted the capabilities of President Lincoln to win re election. One such man was the literal general of the armies, George McClellan, who ran against Lincoln as the Democratic nominee. However, on July 22, 1863, General William Tecumseh Sherman captured the city of Atlanta and in September launched his deadly march to the sea, devastating the Confederacy. This heavily propelled Lincoln's chances to victory in November. Still, doubts lingered in Washington, D.C. Lincoln turned west to assure his re-election. He knew that Nevada was strongly pro-Union and pro-Republican. The Nevada Territory's population was only about 40,000, considerably short of the typical 60,000 resident minimum required by Congress. After previous mail-in attempts failed, the state constitution was telegraphed to Washington, D.C. At a cost of $4,303.27, it was the most expensive single telegram dispatch on record at the time. On October 31st, 1864, the state of Nevada was officially admitted into the Union as the 36th state of the Union. Literally, the election was on November 8th, 1864. And wouldn't you know it, Nevada voted overwhelmingly in support of Lincoln, just like the entire country, really. One of Nevada's three electors was snowbound and unable to cast a vote for president or vice president. Therefore, Lincoln only received 2 electoral votes for president from Nevada, less than the 3 that are usually required. So there you have it. Nevada is a heavily politicized state in 2026, just as it was in 1864. Nothing has truly changed in terms of the politicization of Nevada. That's why Nevada is just a political stunt, a mere maneuver to assure re-election by President Lincoln. Stick around for next time, where I go over how the state of New Hampshire is older than the country it claimed to be a state of.